Welcome back, Sports Card Culture Podcast number 14.
Let's get it done.
It's already been another week. It's February 1st. It feels like we were just here yesterday. John, what's up?
Well, we had a good time this weekend. So we went to the Eau Claire Card Show in Eau Claire,
Wisconsin. For those of you who aren't aware that Wisconsin has a little looser regulations right now related to COVID. So they've been doing shows for a while. They haven't really
eat
stopped.
inside without a mask on.
You can, yes. And so that was fun to be able to. Now, Minnesota is going to have the first show. Well, they had the Maplewood show
right
in the mall, but they have the first Bloomington show again this Saturday.
This Saturday.
One day this Saturday.
I told my customers I was going to start putting card show schedule on my Facebook page for them because they had seen like that we went to Eau Claire and they're like, oh, where do we find card shows? So
yeah,
and now that especially the Pokemon
and
guys.
This is the most consistent show in the Midwest. It's monthly.
Do you know when it started?
Dealers. That's
80 like 83 or 82. The group's
been going for longer than that.
Right. Oh, really?
70s,
in the 70s.
They changed locations numerous times, but there's dealers from Wisconsin, North Dakota, South Dakota.
So before we get into what we did and what we got at Eau Claire, I do want to say the best part of owning a store was I got to go to a card show with my homie Clint and a couple other friends.
What up, Tony? What up, Rob?
And it was a business trip. We were there to get something productive done, but we had a good time.
Yeah.
And that's the best kind of work.
It was work, but it doesn't feel like it's enjoyable.
No, it did not feel like
I would
work.
do it even if it wasn't my business.
Correct.
And it's fortunate that it is ours. Yes.
So I don't know how to do this because I could tell you what I got.
Yeah.
I tell everybody what I got, and then they'll be like, oh, that's really good. And then Clint will blow me out of the water. Or Clint could say what he got, and then everybody's going to listen to me and say, like, oh, that piddly stuff. So I don't know what order you want to do this in.
Yeah.
So what'd you get, Clint?
Well, I'll just say this much. Like, the cool thing about cards and the flip game in cards, if you listen to like Gary Vee and stuff, is it doesn't matter what your budget is, whether you have $50 or $5,000. You can go into that show with an opportunity to make money, to build relationships, to connect with people. I connect with a lot of guys that I don't normally see. I only recognized 3 dealers, I think, from the Bloomington show or other shows. So, like, I got to look at a lot of guys' cards that I've never seen before, that in and of itself is enjoyable.
Well, I think that's a good point to make because one of my buys was for $2 I had gotten a Kobe Bryant purple prism insert. Mm-hmm. I want to say 1920 or 1819.
Optic.
Optic. And, it's $2, and it turns out it was a $40, $50 card. So you're not wrong. You could have gone there with $5 and converted that into a $50 card or a $40 card and still bought a pop out of the machine.
Well, and think about this, and then you could even take it one step further. You could go with the $2, get the Kobe, find one that is in good condition, grade it, and all of a sudden it's a $250 card. Where else can you take $2 plus your grading fee and turn it into, you know what I mean? Like, so it's the fun.
So you're not wrong about budget. Yeah. No, we did talk about this about budget during the show.
I never used to have the budget I have, so it's a different.
So we both went there with larger budgets. I think you had slightly more than I did, but not that much more than I did. Yeah. And so we talked about that a lot. Where when I went to shows before, I've never gone to a show to try to make money at the show.
Right.
I bought cards because I thought they would go up in value.
Yep.
But I never went there like, oh, I'm going to spend $50 and turn it into $200.
Right.
Because I had $50 and I was just like, I'm just buying cards I like.
Right.
So this is like one of the first times, other than the National in 19, that I actually went like, okay, this is a business trip. We had fun, but this is a business trip. I got to go there. I got to spend money so that I can make some money on this money, or else I shut down the store for half the day.
Right.
That's an opportunity cost right there. And I was very happy with what I did.
And what I would say to people is when you go, don't try to – we talked on the car ride over who we were all looking for, partly to like in a way like help each other out. Like we don't need to compete. There's plenty to go around.
Right.
But then the other thing I realized right when I walked in is like the stuff I'm the most fresh on in the market becomes the stuff I gravitate towards because I just like if I've sold a card recently, I know the value of it.
Right.
Which literally we had, and I'll talk about my first purchase was actually 2 Jeter SP cards, which unfortunately I sold one in your shop I way undersold it.
Right.
I sold a 7 for $300, which is what they were a month ago. Once it sold, we looked them up, and the comps were closer to 1,000. So I walked into the show, and the second table I went to, the guy had an SGC 8 and a PSA 6. Yeah. And he had 550 on the SGC 8, and I'm like, well, I know a 7's worth 1,000. So
we talked about that. I said the same thing. I said if I would have saw those cars, I would have instantly bought them.
Yep.
Because we just had
and to be honest, had I not undersold that, I would have walked by those thinking, oh, that's fair market. Not realizing that in a week the market had moved so far on those cards specifically so I was able to buy an 8, a 6, and then a PSA 9 Upper Deck Griffey. I got all 3 of them for $900, and I think the 8's worth probably 12, the 6 is worth 5, and the Griffey's worth 4.
Right, but even in that package deal, you got those 2 Jeters and Griffey.
Yep.
But you just sold a 7 for 1,000. The fact that you got the 3 under 1,000, that's not even a question.
It's a free roll. Right. I literally know I can sell the 8, make money on the whole deal, and then I have the other 2 cards. Right. Yeah.
Right.
So
my big guy I was looking for was Wander Franco. As much as Lewis Robert was going nuts last year, Franco is 20 this year.
Yep.
Or is he still 19?
Number 1 prospect in baseball.
And then number 1 prospect 2 years in a row. I think if he comes out and performs to start the year, it's going to be Lewis Robert who? Lou Bob who?
Yep.
Right? Now, deeper into the season, that'll start to even up, you know. But early, if he's hitting 340 after 2 weeks, those cards are gonna be nuts.
And he's got 10 bombs or 8 bombs or something, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a massive power hitter though.
Like 65 power, great.
Yeah. Oh really?
Above
okay.
Average.
And so I had picked up 2 Bowman Chrome 10s and 1 9 for like $425. And the best part was he wanted $450. I don't know why I was stuck on that, but I just wanted to be closer to I said $425, and the dealer goes, "You got a quarter?" And I go, "I've never done this before. Let's do it," because I saw it on you see it on like Storage Wars and stuff. And it's like I never coin flipped, and I'm proud to say that I won the coin flip and got it for $425.
Love it.
You know,
I've flipped a couple guys. I think I'm like 0 for 3, so I should probably keep flipping because the chances of an independent event that's 50-50 happening 7 times in a row against you is like 1 in 132.
But you're wrong. No, you're wrong. No, you're wrong because
you're wrong.
Every flip of the coin, it goes back to 50-50. It doesn't matter.
You're wrong. If you do the probability, trust me, I can show you. The probability of a coin flip being heads 7 times in a row, 7 times in a row is 1 in 132.
But we're going to look this up after the podcast. Yep. I know I read this. Is that
I know it's an independent event.
Flip always goes back to 50-50 no matter how many times it's
I know. But if I literally flipped the odds of hitting heads 7 times in a row is 1 in 132. It's the way it is.
All right,
look it up. Look it up.
We'll look it up after
we will.
And we'll provide the update when I'm right next week.
So Wander, what else did you buy from that guy?
I got a Dante.
Okay, you're
good. I got a Dante
DiVincenzo.
So I was in the car. On the way back, and I tried to say his name. I couldn't say his name.
Yep.
I practiced all week.
Yep.
Still can't say his name.
Right.
Can't do it. I don't even remember what it was. It was out of 10 select
gold. Right? It's a gold. PSA 9.
Gold
PSA 9.
It wasn't a gold something though.
No, it's a gold.
Okay.
I mean it's
might be a gold. Yada yada.
It's not the pure gold. It's like the Concourse gold. It's like one of the other parallels.
So that was the number to 10. I got that for $315 plus another like $80 worth of stuff. So I think I did pretty good on that.
What do you think that's worth? Obviously, you're taking a flyer on him,
right? As a player,
yes.
But at the same time, if I auctioned it, it might only go for like $110 too.
Right.
So I'd have to do a buy it now. That's one of those cards where the auction is not going to help. So you talked last week about how the auction helped you.
Yep.
Now you don't know.
Now you don't know because I just auctioned a Colin Sexton 101, not a rookie, a 2019.
Okay.
I bought it from a buddy with another card with a Tim Duncan Chrome rookie 9.
Okay.
I bought them both for $475. I sent the Sexton to PWCC and they auctioned it. It finished for $900.
Okay.
And so an auction on that card and I think a gold is similar. In other words, there's so few of them.
Yeah, fair enough. But he's not a household name.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not Colin Sexton, but I think it would go for more than you paid already.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, gold.
Yeah, but they're very real risk.
Because there's enough other guys out there who think he could become the third best player. I mean, Bledsoe's gone from the Bucks, so it's
who's number 2? We talked about
Middleton.
this in the car. Middleton.
What's that? And Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday is too old though.
No,
in terms
he's
of
09. He's Curry. He's a good player. But
I'm talking about in terms of cards. Like no one's looking at Drew Holiday as a guy to invest in.
Sure.
So he's card wise.
Yeah,
but Middleton
he's way better than his card prices.
Yeah, but you could be looking at Middleton cards as a real thing.
Yep.
You know, still. And so I don't know. I think maybe 500.
Yeah.
Right this minute, if I listed it for 750, I might get an offer for 500.
Yeah.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm extremely happy with that deal.
But are you holding that long term to see if it turns into like 1,000 or more? Or?
Yeah, I am. I think Evan's saying no. Evan does. Is it because you don't like him? Or do you think I should make the quick flip?
He's shooting that guy down. I'll say this much: DiVincenzo can jump. He's he's very athletic. I mean, I remember him with Villanova on that championship team. I mean, he was one of the better players. He was actually really rare. He came off the bench for that team in college, and he was a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? A guy was not even a starter on his own team, and he was a top 10 pick in the draft. Which is
but that's
weird,
like when you got that senior who's very good, and the freshman technically better than he is, but the senior is still going to start. So it might be some of that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, but he was the upperclassman.
Oh.
He didn't even start.
Oh, that's weird.
It's super weird. Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, I got that. Those were the two big cards that I got, or the two big stuff. But like, I got a beam team, another beam team, 93, 94 for like $7.
Which is interesting that it's like we said, because you sold that Shaq beam team. I gravitate towards the cards I recently, or just
under $10. I'm like,
I'll say this much: the cards I'm spending the most money on at the show are cards that are the most liquid.
Right.
And then I'm taking risk on a lot smaller.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I had done
cards.
was I targeted a card that I wanted.
Yep.
And then I found a bunch of other cards that I wanted that were just lower dollar value. And I tried to negotiate on the main card and then get the other card then.
Yep.
So like with the.
Did you do any trades? Did you bring any trades?
No,
I did. I did one trade. Okay.
So I did. So like with the Dante, it had 300 on the card. Well, I had a stack of cards with it. So he got $15 more than what he had on the Dante. Right. So really, it's like I paid full price for the Dante, but I got like extremely good deal on the other stuff.
He threw in the other stuff, which I tend to do that. Like the one trade I did, I traded a Jeter auto for an 87 Fleer sticker Jordan PSA 8, which, believe it or not, is a high grade on that card.
Oh, yeah.
Very high grade. I've never graded an 8. And here's the route I went on this trip. I went the route of getting graded cards because I can flip them quicker. I don't have to wait to send them to PSA. A lot of times I'm there trying to get raw stuff that I'm just long-term sending them out, getting them back. Right. I actually traded a raw card for a graded card and some cash. And the cool part was one of the best deals for my whole show was he threw in what he considered a really off-center beam team 92 Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'll throw it in there for $40. And I'm like, well, I know that's a good deal. I had no idea. I looked up, like, the last raw sale was $250.
Yeah, I saw that card. There was no price on it, and I never asked. I was so mad when I heard what
So I gave the guy $500 cash and a $500 Jeter auto for $1,100 graded Jordan and a $250 raw Jordan.
Now, I feel a little better, though, because I doubt his price on the Jordan alone was $40. I think it was part of the deal.
Because
it might have been $75.
Yeah. But still, that's
that's
like,
way low.
And I looked at it, like, it's not a gradable card. Like, it's got a little bit of a slight corner touch, but it's not it's hard to have a card so off-center with PSA to make it less than a 7 or to make it less than an 8, actually.
Well, I'll tell you something. Like, I have one of those Beam Team Jordans, but somebody won't give it back to me, Clint.
What?
I have one. Where? I gave it to you to go back it, and it's not back yet. Why
that
isn't it back yet, Clint?
Nice, yeah, I know.
Like, what's your problem?
I work for Beckett part-time. I'm not doing a very good job.
A reoccurring theme where I complain to Clint about Beckett not sending back cards.
60% of my customers. I fielded multiple calls.
So yeah, I got one of those. I got the 93 SB Jeter at Beckett and the glass, absolute glass LeBron.
Which, by the way, if those of you guys have those absolute glass cards, those cards are probably the best card I've seen in the last 3 years to send to Beckett for a black label.
Right,
a lot of them actually black label.
Like, all right, because they were encased to begin with.
They're encased. The main issue is going to be scratching. Other than that, it's like the corners, edges, surface.
What is it just made out of like a resin, you think?
Yeah, I think it's actually made out of glass.
Do you think it's actually made out of glass?
I think it's etched. Yeah, I think it's etched glass. It doesn't feel like plastic to me when I've handled them.
It doesn't feel.
I think it's glass. I mean, there's some sort of coating on it that allows it to be etched and hold, but.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was like some sort of weird. It's not plastic, obviously.
No, it's not actually plastic.
It's very heavy.
It's very heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavier than. I mean, it could be some sort of artificial.
Some sort of
clear acetate.
Yeah.
But I've seen. We had a Luca rookie that was a BGS 10, and I looked up the pop report, and I was surprised how many black labels there were. Like,
that's true.
The highest number black labels
percentage. If you got more than one, then there you go. Yeah. Actually, the Pikachu Rainbow is black labeling like crazy.
Wow.
Apparently, like 4 or 5 of them already.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
All right.
The other guys I was buying, I'll just run through real quick, was I think this guy named Tom Brady's got some real potential. I was buying him. I think he could turn into something in the future.
Who's
he? Well, I think he's with the.
He got traded last year, didn't he?
No, he's just free agent.
Yeah,
they let him go.
That's right. He was a free agent. That's what it was.
I was actually fortunate enough to find a guy right away who had 12 Rob Brady's, and I bought his Bowman and his Crown Royal. They were the best two. The rest of them were like Skybox, like Impact.
Were you trying to get all of them?
I made him an offer, but to be honest, the best condition were actually the best cards. The Crown Royal the Bowman. The Bowman specifically, I think, which I got a phenomenal deal. I think he had maybe 800 on the two. I got them both for $650. And the Bowman, I think, has a legitimate 9-shot, outside shot at a 10.
And you know pretty quick because you'll get that back in a month or something.
Yeah, I mean, I spent the 100 to grade it quick. But but 9s are 3,000 if he wins. They're more. So, I mean, I actually just had a customer text me. 3 years ago, I sold him a Chrome Brady PSA 10 rookie for $1,500, Bowman Chrome. And he texted me. He's like, he had asked me about some other cards, and I said, hey, are you going to sell that Brady?
Right.
He goes, yeah, one just sold for $25,000. I said, you owe me steak dinner. Gosh, man, I sold you guys. I just made you some money. Some
equity. Where are you going to bring me for dinner?
Yeah, exactly. He goes, it'll be good. It'll be fancy. I'm like, yeah, it better be. It better not be McDonald's, buddy.
Okay.
So he said he's going to hold it. He thinks it has the chance to be, 6 figures.
And what is it? It's a Bowman Chrome what?
Bowman Chrome PSA 10.
It's a PSA 10. I mean, if we want to talk about we're living in a world of $250,000, $400,000 cards, $1 million cards. That'd be one potential one.
The refractor 10 is already 6 figures.
Yeah,
but I think so. The Chrome has gone from about.
Is the refractor numbered?
No, 3.
Not.
So 3,000. Now there is a gold numbered to 50. Like I don't know if I've ever seen one. Like it's a ridiculous card. But the Chrome went from 3,000 to 25,000 in less than a year.
Yeah.
I mean, so we're looking at a pretty almost a.
But like no, I mean 8X. We're talking 20 years. If you look at what the Jordans are doing, 25,000 might just seem like 1,500.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, if a Jordan 10's over 200,000, a Brady Bowman Chrome should be at some point.
It wouldn't be as much in today's money just because that Jordan only has the Jordans. Now there's less Bowman Chromes than there are Flair Jordans by a lot.
Yeah, but he has other.
But he has other stats. Yeah. Yep. And so we always have to kind of factor that in, like how many rookie cards does he have? Now with in terms of unautographed cards, would the Bowman Chrome be his best non-parallel? Because I think he has the Contender's auto.
So it would be what I would consider the like staple, like whether you look at like Topps Chrome for other guys or Prism for current guys. So it's the Chrome base card that's he doesn't have a base Topps.
No, he doesn't.
He has upper decks.
So it would be the base top.
He has an SP Authentic, but it's much more because it's numbered to 13.
Oh yeah, okay, that's SP Authentic. I forgot about that. So
there'll
be number 2.
Yeah, and then there's UD graded. And there's some other. I mean, he has an SPX that's numbered as well. That's extremely expensive.
Okay.
So, but I would say of the mass-produced cards, it's the most iconic photo. It's become the staple.
Now, there was a sale on that SP Authentic, which is weird that I didn't think of the SP Authentic. Yeah. I saw a few blurbs. I never stopped to really look at it, but SP Authentic 10 sold. Do we know how much it went for?
I mean, those used to be 20,000. I would guess they're much higher now. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I want to say the sale was yesterday or the day before.
I mean, the big news is a Contenders PSA 10 auto, not the championship ticket. The base Contenders auto sold for $550,000. Wow. So I mean, that card used to be $100, and that was a lot then. I mean,
the thing about the SP Authentic was 2000 would have been the third year they did that, where in the base set, the rookies were all serial numbered.
Right.
And so in 2000, that Brady is numbered to 1250.
Yep.
And the crazy thing about that means there can only be 1,300 sets, period,
right.
Of that.
I mean, okay, so I see a sale on the SP Authentic, but it was in November. Yeah. In November, a card
might as well have been 20 years
ago. In November, one sold for $53,010.
53,000.
So I think it's more than that now.
Yeah, my guess is
with the current move.
I could have sworn there was a sale that was all over the news.
You know what? It might have been through like Golden or one of those guys. Because the record sale yesterday, everyone sent me texts. I get like 6 texts from 5 different people. Like everyone's like sending me all these. The guy from ESPN who always is updating business transactions, Rovell or whatever, ROVLL.
He's the one you were showing us.
He was the one who reported that and this is totally showbidded. This doesn't make any sense, but 2 Jordan 10s went for over $700,000 yesterday.
Why would you think that was showbidded?
I mean, they were $200 a week ago. That doesn't make sense. It seems a little high. I mean,
well, I don't know. I mean, I can't live in a world where both there is reality in this price, and then we also say, "Oh, that's silly." It's like nothing's silly anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
what's silly now?
Yeah, I mean, I'll pull up the article here. It's
like
so 20, the article
20
is
Prism football going for $1,400.
A pair of Jordan rookie 10s just sold for $738,000 each.
So they just hit like 250.
Golden auctions.
But think about golden auctions. Aren't those all pre-qualified bidders too? I mean, there's not a lot of show bidding going on.
I mean, those are getting paid for. But here's my thought. Let me tell you a little bit of what's going on for you guys to give some insight. Right. There is one guy who owns the majority of the PSA 10 Jordan rookies. He lives in Texas. And the rumor is anytime one gets, in his mind, undervalued, he's buying them. And so he's actually buying them.
It's still a real price.
No, it's still a real price. But, like, if you had 100 of them out of the 300, and you started buying up everyone that came to auction, now you control the majority of it, and you're the only guy pushing them to market. That's a benefit for you to buy it up, right? So I mean,
no, it is absolutely.
So I'm not saying it's not a real price. I'm not saying it's shilled.
Yeah, that's not shill.
A shill is if you actually previously own it.
Right.
He's just saying I own such a massive position.
Yeah, there's probably a term for that, but it's not show bidding. Show bidding is basically I don't want to acquire it.
Yes.
And then I'm trying to get the highest price I can for a friend or for myself.
Versus he wants to acquire it because he owns so many others.
And I mean,
obviously, if he can drive, if that card can go from 2 to 7, what does that mean for all the other ones he owns?
Well, that's what he's doing. All he's doing is protecting his baseline too. So
which is normal.
So what he's doing, let's say he says his baseline is $300,000 now, right? Yep. If it goes for $310, he doesn't buy it.
Yep.
If it goes for $220, he doesn't buy it. But if it goes for $290, he's going to bid it up to $300.
Yeah. Yep.
And make sure that baseline stays flat. I'm sure there's a term for that in stocks.
Yes.
I just don't know what that term would be.
Yeah. I mean, it's a real thing. So, yeah, I mean, prices right now are literally – they're getting so wild that I actually just sent a Jordan sticker to auction, PSA 6, because they're like $3,000. It's just silly. I'm into it for $150. It's like, okay, I got to sell it, I guess.
Well, I had a client who gave me a really beat-up sticker, like a 3 maybe or a 4.
Yeah.
2.5 weeks ago.
You sent
it. I was looking at it kind of like, do you want to grade this? No, I'm like, thank God it's in the system.
Yeah.
Like, it's been going crazy with the Jordans.
Yeah, Jordan's going nuts.
All right, so let's talk about Vegas, Dave.
Yeah. So.
And before we started, you had wrote down exactly what he said, so we don't.
Yeah, I'm just gonna read this quote. I had a lot of people bring
it up. Let's explain who Vegas Dave is.
So Vegas Dave is a sports handicapper, is what I would call it. He sells picks for sports betting. He also invests in cards, and there's some guys in Minnesota that have sold him some cards that have a relationship with him. But if you guys have seen the show on Showtime, there's a 4-part series called Action. It's all about sports betting, and he's kind of the main face of it. He talks a little bit about cards, but he was the guy who started buying up trout years ago. He bought the Superfractor for $400,000. They sold it a couple years later and just cleared the $3.8 million or whatever. And then the Mantle surpassed it. That was the trout that set the record, and then the new one came. So he posted the other day, and he's become he's got a lot of followers on social media.
He's a personality now.
He's a personality. I wouldn't call him an expert on cards, but no. So here's his quote. This is from a couple days ago. He says, quote, "Mark my words, the sports card market will collapse in 24 to 36 months. Remember, it was me that predicted the market would boom 3 years ago. Everyone laughed at me when I bought the Mike Trout Super for $400,000. Then 2 years later, I sold it for $4 million. Just remember in 24 to 36 months that I told you all this market will collapse just like the subprime market did years ago." So I'm coming back to that because that's, I think, an awful comparison for a lot of reasons. And then he said, "Vision is seen with the brain, not the eyes. The dumbest buys I've ever seen are the Mantle for $5.2 million, which is the one that he didn't sell that one, so he was not ripping on his buyer. My Trout for $4 million, so he's actually insulting the guy who bought his card. Smart move in business. Jordan 86 Fleers at $250 to $300K, Giannis at 1.5, LeBron at 1.5, and effing Tatis at $250. He says only certain cards will pop and hold value. 1% of the people in the world own those cards. The rest of the 99 of you will lose your asses. You all have a solid year to sell, but trust me, in 24 to 36 months, this bubble will pop and pop big. Oh, and by the way, Pokemon cards are the biggest waste of money. Years from now, please remember this. This is by far the worst investment you can make long term." End quote. Thoughts?
So, first thing, he's not correct in the severity of the statement.
Yep.
But he's not incorrect in the theme of the statement.
Okay.
I don't even know if that makes any sense what I just said. But what I mean by that is...
Let me ask you a question. What do you think his agenda is on making the statement? Do you think he's just genuinely speaking from his heart? I don't at all.
No. So there's two things he can be doing. One, he's a personality, and if the more outlandish things you can say, the more attention you get.
For sure. And
so he lives in a world of attention.
Yeah, I'm reading his quote.
Right,
because
absolutely. And we're talking about it on a podcast where, admittedly, we're trying to get attention as well, right? So he wants to get attention. So that's pretty easy. The other one is, if he wants to participate in the hobby, the best thing he can do is try to drive prices down to start reacquiring.
Thank you.
And that's what stock...
That's what I clearly see the agenda here being.
Yeah.
Far more than like... Now,
well, what if I can get the Trout to go back down to $800,000, I can reacquire it?
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like he's speaking out of two sides of his mouth when he literally sells a card, insults the guy who bought it as the worst investment when he was on that same side of investing just
a few years ago.
2 years ago, right? I mean, so... First of all, let me say this. This market is way too big for Vegas Dave to have any personal influence. Like, the fear of him saying this actually affecting anything.
No, I think some people sold because he said it. But is he going to move the needle now?
No. And let me say this, too. As I thought about this comment, I thought, first of all, I want to start by saying a couple things. One is that collapse is absolutely the wrong word.
Yeah, the wrong word.
Do I think we're going to see correction in pricing? Yes. Is that a good thing? Yes. Absolutely. Is that healthy for a stable market? Of course it is.
Right.
Does the stock market... Okay, let me ask you this. In 2007, when the market, quote-unquote, collapsed, did that mean stocks went away and years from then there'd be no value in stocks?
I think the better parallel would be the housing market in a vacuum. So not the housing market with the mortgage.
Because the subprime thing was...
But the values of the houses themselves. I was a real estate agent in Washington, D.C. During the run-up.
Sure.
And in 2005, in 2006, I came back home, and I looked at the prices in Minnesota, and I said no. And I rented.
Yep.
Now, I bought my first house on my 23rd birthday. So I'm a guy who wants a house. I don't want to live in an apartment.
Sure.
But you looked at the price. I came back in a Rambler, 3-bedroom Rambler was $314,000.
Yep.
That's not a real thing.
Yep.
That's not real life. And so if you would have used that, I would have said, yeah, I probably agree with them because there is going to be a sharp correction.
okay, let me say something.
It's going to be sharp.
In the short term, some of what he's saying I agree with.
Yes.
In the long term, I think it's ludicrous because let me say this.
No.
If you're a guy right now buying a PSA 9 Jordan rookie at $70,000, in the short term, could you lose? Yes. If you hold that card for 30 years, you're never going to lose because here's the reality of every market. You have ups and downs. You have every 3 to 5 years, the stock market corrects 25%. It's actually part of the health of the market, right? And so what is that? If you look at investors, what does that give them? It gives them a buying opportunity.
Right, but
at a
also,
discount, right?
I mean, the correction. What the correction is supposed to do is it's supposed to warn you of future risks. So when the market's hot and it corrects, it's just like a dog who gets punished for peeing on the floor. If you get the right kind of a consequence to that, you don't pee on the floor anymore.
Right.
And so that's the goal. And in sports cards, you're not going to get a government bailout.
Yep.
So then people are going to be a little more careful with some of the things they're doing.
Yep.
So we had talked about this before where the reason why wax prices on current product is so high because everybody's building in that every rookie could be Trout.
Right.
And when we do that, the wax prices have to be high.
Let me say,
but that's not going to happen. We know that's not going to happen.
And let me say this: there's bigger economic factors at play. I mean, obviously, in a recession economically, all your assets are going to depreciate. They're all going to decrease in value. The question is, so let's look back. Let's say in 1987, when we had that massive market correction, collapse almost.
Yeah.
Let's say you would have decided, you know what?
Drop since the Great Depression.
Yeah, since the Depression, 87. Let's say you would have said, you know what? This is the year I'm going to buy the 52 mantle.
Yeah.
Would you have made money? Of course you would have made money.
Yeah, I think they were probably $1,000.
If you would have bought the PSA, if you would have bought a PSA graded mantle in the 2000 tech boom, and you kept it till now, you still would have made money. And those are the two opposite extremes, right? You have a boom and you have a bust.
Right. If
you're buying staple investments, whether it's land, gold, Amazon stock, or the staple sports cards, it doesn't really matter when you buy them if you're holding them long term. Now the problem is a lot of the people in the sports card market are in the short flip. In other words, they're overextending themselves. If I had $100,000 to invest in cards, I'm not putting $100,000 in a current, like some high-end Luka card now that all of a sudden I'm going to need to sell if the market corrects.
I'm going to tell you something. He made a list of names in that quote.
Yep.
And he was completely wrong about all of them except for Giannis and Tatis.
Yes.
If they blow their knee out tomorrow and they never play again, they're not going to be worth anything, including Giannis.
For sure.
But he said LeBron and Jordan.
Jordan, he's an idiot.
And why don't throw Gretzky and Mantle?
Why don't you throw Brady in there? Because I mean, he hasn't done enough yet.
So the list was so weird.
Well, here's what he's doing. He's picking out some of the highest value cards and saying these are bad investments. And I'm saying, well, not necessarily. So here's the question. Right now, if you own Bitcoin, and let's say you bought it at 40,000, it's down to 30 right now.
Yeah.
And if you don't need the money, it's not necessarily a bad investment. If you're going to hold it for 10 years, I'm pretty sure it's going to go back beyond 40. Now, in the short term, here's the cool thing about an investment. You only lose money if you have to sell it when it's down. If you can hold it through it being down, there's no loss at all, right?
Yeah, Warren Buffett has said that. He goes, he was talking about, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, about the short squeeze that's going on with GameStop and AMC.
Which has made me a lot of money.
Yeah, no doubt. Yep. But he had mentioned, now I think Warren Buffett, so I've been to Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting twice, and I respect him as an investor, but I do think he's kind of a scumbag in terms of how he manipulates things himself, right?
Yeah, he has a lot of ability to manipulate a market with how much.
And so some are arguing like he's even supporting political candidates that 86 the pipeline,
absolutely,
because he owns all the railroads.
He owns all, no
question.
And
so I got a big problem.
He supports his personal interest, but most people vote their personal interest.
No, absolutely.
I mean,
right? And but he even admitted that in the meeting, the 2 years that I went to the annual meeting about his what was it, about the green energy companies that he has.
Yeah.
And he argued that he only bought them because if you had the company itself, the tax credits don't help that company.
Right.
But if you have a holding company where you can take the tax credit and apply it to the entire company, that's the only reason why you're investing in it anyway. So not a lot of people caught that, but what I caught it was the subsidy that the government was giving was not helping what they were trying to help with the subsidy. All they were doing was making Berkshire Hathaway with more money.
Right.
Or save on taxes.
Yep.
And so
So let me come back to Vegas Dave's quote on one thing. And as the old adage goes, buy fear and sell greed.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're asking where we're at in the sports card market, we're clearly in a phase of greed. So the question is, like, for me, I'm looking at my own portfolio, and like I have a couple cards that I'm thinking about holding long term, whether it's LeBron, Jordan, Brady. Those are the three guys. Like, I don't need the money. So there's certain cards I'm like, you know what? This is a pretty good market, and these cards I don't want long term necessarily. I think now is a fairly good time to sell them, right? But that doesn't mean, like, if you don't need the money, you don't, like, first of all, you don't need to panic sell. I think one of the reasons to sell is actually to liquidate, to be able to buy on the correction, right? Because it's no different than stocks. Like, you don't want your whole portfolio invested, because then when it corrects, you're not able to get stuff that you like at a discount.
Right. Well, I mean, ultimately in the card side, I mean, you're right. There's a ton of behavior that's happening right now that's just full of just pure greed and just.
Do I think prices are over?
Well, let me ask you, what happens to the pigs?
Right.
What happens to pigs?
They get slaughtered.
Right? And so, I mean, prepare for the future.
Yep.
One of the things I keep talking about is my projection is that we have acquired, this is what I think, and this is just, I might be totally off, but this is just kind of what I think.
Yeah.
I think we have 4 times as many collectors, people who are collecting in different amount.
I mean, there's 45 million transactions.
Right.
That's
and so I think we've 4 times the number of people who are collecting than we did from 5 years ago.
Yep.
And I think when the correction happens, we'll lose half.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do the math on that, that means we've doubled the number. Let's say the correction happens in 5 years.
Yep.
That means we've doubled the number of collectors in 10 years. That's a really healthy hobby.
Well, and let me say this, to the point about even this weekend, back to the Eau Claire trip, when we talk about bankroll. So in poker, your bankroll, managing your bankroll is the way you stay playing poker.
Right.
So you don't risk more than you can afford to lose. So like, for tournament players, the adage goes that you need to have in your bankroll 50 buy-ins. So if I'm buying into a $1,000 tournament, I should have $50,000 I can play poker with, because I might go 30 tournaments without cashing, and then I'm not going broke, right? So to our point about cards, if your bankroll, if your portfolio is $20,000, don't invest all $20,000 on a DiVincenzo 101.
Right.
That's okay. That I would say no, but like you buying, like for me, even at the this weekend at the show, me buying a Jordan Nike promo rookie graded.
We didn't even talk about that yet.
And then flipping it within a few hours. Like, there's not a lot of risk there, because I'm still taking less risk, I think, than a lot of guys who have less money than I have. So like, I think risk management is a real conversation. Like, but there's certain things I don't think there's actually risk in. Like, there's certain
Jordan
cards.
wasn't a risky buy.
No, there was no risk involved at all.
So let's explain what happened.
Yeah.
You want to say the numbers?
Sure.
So you purchased so it was a PSA 8 Nike Jordan promo rookie, 1985.
1985. It came in a 5-pack set.
Yeah, the header.
It's got
6.
What's that? Yeah, the header. Yeah, if you count the header,
okay.
I think it's
either
that or it's 5 with it. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
So that card has taken off because Jordan's other cards are going up.
Yeah,
that card,
and literally in the last couple weeks.
I mean, a year. Okay, so less than a year ago, we had one in the shop, and Mike, I think we valued it at like $800, and it was an 8 actually. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, $800. So I walk by a guy, and he has a showcase that's empty, minus this card and a couple other cards. And, you know, it's one of these things that, like, a lot of people might be surprised at this, but just because you go to a card show and the guy's a card dealer doesn't necessarily mean he always has fair market price.
Right.
Example,
I make mistakes all the time.
I sold a Jeter by like 70% off in a case in a shop.
And
right?
you I've heard know something about cards.
I mean, I tried to, but the market right now is so quick moving. So I asked him, I'm like, oh, what do you got on that? And he goes $1,500. And at the time, I think, well, the last time I knew an 8 was 8. I'm sure that's right.
Right.
Well, I just pulled out my phone quick and looked it up, and the last comp was $3,600.
Right.
So at that point, I was like, well, obviously I'm buying this card now. Can I get a few more $100 off?
So this is where we talk about you make money on the buy.
You make money on the buy. So I offered him $1,000 cash, and he came back at 12, and I just started counting the money as fast as I could.
Right.
before
you took one
changed.
shot, and then you're like, I'm done.
I'm like, yeah, I saved $300. Okay, let's go.
So you paid $1,200 for the card. And we're leaving the show, but before we left the show, you did something. What was that?
So I sat down and I was like cleaning all my cards, and I told these guys, I said, my goal. I always try to do this. I'm like, I'm gonna try to sell this card before we get home.
Right.
So I listed it for $3,600, which was the last comp, and offers started coming in around like 28 to 3,000. I ended up getting one that I got the guy up to 3150, and I just sold it.
Because again, this was kind of the reason why you hit. So that guy. That buyer of that card actually got a good deal on that card because you were playing a game on the card. So you got a card like $300 off.
Yeah, he got a good deal. And the reality
because
is,
you wanted to get it before
but
you hit
here's
home.
how cool. Here's how cards are when you have an up market like this. I bet the guy who sold it to me for $1,200 made $1,100 on it.
Oh, maybe
because he said he had another one. He's had them graded for a long time. He made literally
$100
have
bought the set for $100,
and he may have paid to get it graded. So literally like. He's like, I'm good at, I made $1,000. Okay.
Right.
And so
I just think that's funny. There's a buyer out there. He's probably like, wow, I got a really good deal on that. That guy just and he doesn't know that you were just playing a game.
Yeah.
Well, I got to do it.
I just made $2,000.
Because we were, bear in mind, when you hit accept, we were 15 minutes outside of home.
Yeah.
So you were right up against.
I was
motivated.
I kind of have to hit accept. I was motivated to show these guys. And afterwards, it was funny that Tony made a comment about like, man, I was kind of amazed like how like. For somebody who, like, this has become our world, like, I'm just aware of, like, this reality because this is how we make a living. And, I've been fortunate enough to do that enough. I mean, one of the first times we went to Iowa for that minor league game, I did it with a much smaller bankroll. I bought I bought a $5. No, I bought a 50-cent card.
50-cent card.
Card numbered to 5 and sold it for $80
so
in the hotel before we.
Cespedes. What was that? With a gold?
It was a heritage. Like green
chrome.
to 5, like it was like a weird.
I don't think
super
it was
short
green.
print.
Yeah, it was one of the colors, but no, it was gold.
No, it was gold.
The reason why it was gold because you showed it to me and you go, John. I looked at it and gold's their number to 50.
Yeah, they're normally
that's
50.
what they're numbered to. Yep. Gold's always numbered to 50.
Except for this one.
And I go, oh, cool. By the way, 50 cents for Jonas number 50 is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Right, and so
still a good deal.
We get to the car, it goes numbered to 5 or numbered to 10.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what? It's a gold. And they're not numbered to 10. And so, you had sold that before that night.
Yeah.
I think it was just a few hours later.
And so, like, for those of you guys out there, like, with your bankroll, whatever it is, and some work and some effort, there is a lot of money made even at card shows because I'll be honest, the beauty for me on that Jordan card is I'm pretty sure that guy doesn't sell anything on eBay.
Right.
So the fact that I can take a card that's only being seen by 300 people in a small mall in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, buy it, and then but I had to have the cash to buy it.
Yeah.
And then expose it to 300 million people on eBay. That's my opportunity.
And that's what we talked about.
Broadening my audience.
That's what we talked about bankroll too. Is like we went there with more money than the two other guys that went there.
Yep.
No, not that they couldn't have got more money, but they weren't willing to bring more money at the time, right?
And it's probably smart for them not, depending on where they're at in their business.
So what happens is, if you stand in front of a vending machine that's completely full, and you got a $20 bill, and it only takes ones and fives, that kind of sucks. Right? You can't get nothing.
Yeah.
But at the same token, like, that's if you have enough money, you can't do it. But this is like, hey, there's a $1,200 Jordan, I only have $800. There's nothing I can do about this. I can't acquire it. Doesn't matter how much money I can make.
It doesn't matter if they know.
Now,
they
in
can
theory,
make
yes, you can go to ATM and all that stuff, but you just can't buy it.
And I almost made a deal to start the day for $14,000 on a Jordan BGS 7 and a BGS 9.5 Brady, and I ended up passing up on that deal, and partly because. If I think back to it, like I could have made probably 4,000 or 5,000 on the 14, but instead I made 2 off 1. You know what I'm saying? So like that's part of the risk thing. It's like, could I afford to buy it? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But it's like there's times where I like risking less to make less, versus risking more to make more,
the same,
or to make the same or similar dollar amount, or know. But I think a lot of times on the high end cards, the other part is of all the people shopping there, there's less people buying those.
Yeah.
So you have less competition.
You have a lot of
leverage.
Buying power.
You have leverage.
I'd like to make a more elaborate term, but you have just more buying power. You have the ability to actually make the transaction.
Right.
And I mean, on the 14,000 side, I wouldn't have been able to make that deal.
And when I tell the guy $1,000 cash, and he knows I have it, like his eyes, like so. Actually, funny story. The first deal I did on those Brady's, when I paid the guy $650, I literally. It was the first sale of the day. They hadn't even unpacked. I was like, "Do you have any Brady rookies?" He's like, "Yeah, I got this box." He pulls them out. I buy them. And he goes and hands them to his wife, and his wife's eyes are huge. Like, what? You just sold 2 cards for $650, and I'm feeling like this was a steal. Like the Brady if at 9s is $3,000. If he doesn't win the Super Bowl.
I think his wife made him a nice dinner that night.
But like, it's funny because like when you start putting it in perspective, like this is a significant amount of money. Like, how often have you gone to work for one day and made $650? And if he's had the cards for a while, like it's almost all profit.
Well, think about $650. $650 is literally a week of work, if not 2.
Right.
And so
it's not a small amount of money.
So I gotta tell this little story, and this is just something I came up with. I just find it hilarious. I told my wife this story; she didn't think it was funny, but that was hilarious.
Is that because you told it?
Fortunately, the guys understood what I was saying because we know full well. But we're leaving. We had to cut through. What store is that? Not Michael's.
Hobby Lobby.
Hobby Lobby. So we're cutting through Hobby Lobby. And our friend Rob goes so we're ready to leave Hobby Lobby to go to the parking lot.
Oh, yeah.
And Rob just turns to the 3 ladies working there and by the register. They're kind of standing around. And Rob just goes, "Hey, do you have any sports cards here?" And she goes, "What?" She goes, "Like, like baseball cards." And he goes, "Oh, no, we don't carry that." And so we're continuing to walk out. We're kind of in that little segue area between the store and outside. And I said, "Hey, Rob, do you know what they heard from you?" They heard, "Do you guys have baseball cards? I like baseball cards. Can I have them?"
I'm a nerd.
You're like, and looking at you like, you guys grown men ask for baseball cards. But I told my wife that story. She's staring at me. She doesn't get why it's funny. I thought it was hilarious. and because she's basically Rob, who is father 2.
Yeah, 2 girls.
Father 2. And this lady's like looking at him like he's 9, right?
All right.
But I told my wife, but I said, yeah, but once you start coming home, like I come home now where I pull, because I have to, let's K-bet options or whatever, I have so much cash on me. Mm-hmm. I'll just pull out like $2,000 and she just kind of look at me and I go, yeah, I don't look like a 9-year-old anymore, do I?
Yeah.
So the amount of money kind of changes the perspective of it. So I think that guy got a nice dinner that night.
Yeah, which to your point about the buying power and like the money, like we had the opportunity to buy a Jordan rookie PSA 7 just a couple days before the show, and I sold the card so I bought the card from a guy and then I consigned a Larry Bird PSA 8 rookie for the guy,
nice.
and in less than 3 days, this customer of ours sold 2 cards for $13,000, and I'm sure his wife was just like her mind was blown because like for people who aren't in the card market, they're like, a baseball card? Like, why wouldn't you sell it for $10,000?
Right,
you know what I mean? Like,
oh no, you go, no, this is worth way more than $10,000.
This hasn't been the commonplace. Like, I actually told someone the other day, I was like, yeah, I got a Jordan, and I, have turned down $20,000 for it. And they're just like, huh? I'm like, yeah, I'm not selling it. I mean, like, so to the outside person, like, who's not into cards.
Yeah, it seems crazy.
It seems crazy.
It does seem crazy. I mean, a lot of that too is like, especially in husband and wife, marriages.
Yeah.
Our wives have no idea what we have.
Right.
Like, there's no clue.
Yeah.
And I'd be looking at something, they're like, he's playing with his cards again.
If they did, they would have liquidated it long ago.
Yeah, like, wait, how much is that? Well, I did that a lot with apparel where I would go, I found this really cool jersey. And my uncle, oh, that's nice. And I go, yeah, I think it's probably going to be $200 or $300. And she goes, what'd you pay for it? I'm like, $3. And she's like, what? Though thrifting's kind of fun because you can find like those big markups. You got to hunt for them, but they can be found.
That's awesome.
Let's talk a little. So I don't want to talk about this too much in the podcast because there's so many places where you can get this talking about it, but it's a big deal.
Yep.
The short squeeze.
Yep.
Do you remember what episode you talked about?
AMC.
Yeah, AMC.
Yeah, it's probably like
so one of the older episodes, Clint talks about this, and Clint had bought one of the companies that was involved in the short squeeze, AMC, and we talked about it on the podcast.
Yep.
And so we went to the card show. I bring it back down to cards.
Yep.
We went to the card show the day after The big
the
pop
biggest
day, right?
squeeze I think was Tuesday and Wednesday, and then they stopped trading on Thursday, and then Friday they opened.
Was it already a few days after? Okay.
Yeah.
And so what happens with driving Eau Claire, and the question I had for Clint was, because I had forgotten you talked about it.
Yeah.
And I said, did you buy AMC because you knew they were going to run this? And you're like, no.
No, not at all.
Because you walked butt backwards into money.
I bought it because I saw the fundamental opportunity to buy a company that I thought was going to get bailed out.
Yeah.
And was too big to let it go bankrupt.
And they do have a lot of real estate holdings. Got to remember the movie theater is a large structure and a large piece of land and not major metropolitan necessarily, but large suburbs and populated
Well, and there's
areas.
just too many people with too much money that are vested in them making it through this.
Yeah.
I.e., all of Hollywood, all the actors, all the movie companies, streaming obviously is taking on a huge portion of that, but I don't think movie theaters are going
But it's not like it's a piece of intellectual property that can just become worthless overnight. It's real land. It's real building.
And so
you're right
so
about
I
Hollywood.
looked at them. I mean, I knew they were a $20 stock a year ago, and I saw them at $2.50, and I finally pulled the trigger. I told everyone in my sphere that wanted to listen to buy AMC at $2.50. Right. I bought 1,000 shares.
And you brought it up on the podcast.
I brought it up in the podcast, and they got approved for the $700 million financing, so they weren't going bankrupt. Okay. And immediately they jumped to like $5 or $6. Well, then what happened was, so Reddit, there's a group on Reddit called Wall Street Bets, and it's a bunch of, they call them Main Street investors versus like the hedge fund
retail
investors.
So these are just people who have a brokerage account with TD Ameritrade,
or Robinhood, blue collar people who have started, and a lot of them are younger generation people that haven't necessarily been into investing and they're getting into it. So it's a positive thing for the market. Well, they said, hey, we're going to target these stocks that have been heavily shorted by these hedge funds. So for those of you who don't know what a short is, it's where you actually sell a stock you don't own, hoping it's going to go down so you can buy it back at a cheaper price and sell it at the higher price. So for example, let's say there's a stock, I short John. I say, hey, I'm going to sell you 100 shares of Apple at 100. And you're like, cool, I'm going to buy them at 100. And I go, I'm going to sell them to you in the next 90 days. And I'm
No, I think you got this backwards. So this would be more of, you have one share.
No, I don't own any of it yet.
No, let's say you have one share,
okay,
right?
let's say I have one share.
And I say, your share is $100. I say, I'll give you $1 if I can borrow your share for a month. Right?
No.
I sell the share for 100, and the goal is, if it's at 70, I buy that share at 70, and I give it back to you.
You buy it
and I made $30.
Right.
Oh, I made $29 because I got to pay you.
But you can actually do it without buying it like that.
Oh, fair enough. But in theory, there's some sort of juice.
Well, there can be a contract and an option. Like an option contract would be like, I sell you the right to sell you 100 shares at X price, believing it's going to go down. So here's what happened. Long story short, the stock's plummeting, and all these people realize there's these stocks that are heavily shorted to the point where there's more shorts than there are actual stocks.
I don't understand how that works.
Yeah, because you can sell more contracts than there actually are. So they realized, hey, it's our turn. All these Wall Street guys got bailed out in 07 and 08, and the blue collar guys like us didn't. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna band together and buy this stock because there's fewer shares of these stocks than other shares. That's why they targeted AMC specifically and GameStop.
Right.
And as we buy it, it's gonna drive the price up. And every time it goes past the price of a short, it forces the hedge fund guy to either take a bigger loss and dump more money in, or buy the stock back at a higher price, which
increases the price.
It's, you saw this exponential.
And you got to remember, they have to give that stock back.
Yes.
There's no like, oh, let me keep it for another 2 months. I gotta give you the stock
transaction
back after trigger
can
date.
be liquid. It has to be executed the moment.
The way they're kind of going about it is they're buying more shorts of the same stock, hoping that the retail buyers will give up at some point.
Right.
And I don't think they'll get their money back, but maybe mitigate some of the loss. And what I'm hearing, like $19 billion from one firm.
Yeah, makes total sense. I mean,
now, here's the thing. Like, I don't. So one of the things that got brought up was there is something called a pump and dump that is illegal.
Yep.
A pump and dump is where I tell you, hey, Clint, this stock is awesome. It's great. You really should buy it. And then when you buy it, I sell my shares. So I pumped it up. You bought it. And then I sell my shares so when it went up. But let's understand what Wall Street Bets they did not do a pump and dump.
No.
Because they said, look, we know
We're holding it. They're trying to convince everybody to hold it.
No, they were like, we know the stock is a dog.
Yeah.
They weren't pumping it up. They were saying, we know it's a bad stock.
Yeah.
That's not why we want to buy the stock. Let's buy the stock to screw these hedge fund guys.
Yeah.
And so it's not an illegal act.
And so literally it was just ironic that the name of the platform that they were trading on was Robinhood. Because literally Robinhood is what? Stealing from the rich to give to the poor?
Yeah, technically stealing from the government to give to the poor.
So literally you have them saying, hey, these 1% billionaires are making all this money on the short.
Right.
Why don't we reverse it and millions of blue-collar people can make money at the expense of a couple billionaires, right? So but now the illegal activity came in on Thursday.
Okay.
When all these places limited trading.
Yeah, which is I don't know how. I mean, Robinhood's going to go bankrupt with the class action lawsuit. There's just no way.
The lawsuits are epic. Now, here's where Robinhood has a chance to not go bankrupt. There's a certain amount of margin that they have to be able to cover. A lot of people
they could have just raised the margin.
But if there wasn't actually enough money for it, that's what they're going to hide behind, is saying there wasn't enough money. We actually had to stop trading because there was more money being put in.
Yeah, I had heard that, but really all you got to do, so margin just means like if I want to buy $1,000 worth of stock, I can just say I want $1,000 worth of stock, but my margin's only maybe $100.
Yep.
If you raise the margin, that means maybe I got to put $500 for $1,000.
Yeah, like right now on Robinhood, I can buy double what I have.
Do you use Robinhood?
Yeah, I have the Robinhood Gold, which I can invest on margin. I don't because I don't want a margin call.
Yeah.
So margin call.
There's a couple things here. Like I never liked the concept of margin in general. That's one of the reasons why we had the Great Depression. Yep. There was a lot of retail buyers who didn't really understand what they were doing, but they could make a lot of money. Yep. And I think
margin is no different than you going to the Eau Claire show with a credit card.
Yes.
And running it up, hoping that you could flip it for a profit and pay off your card before the interest
instead of us just using cash that we have to buy it. Right.
So margin is dangerous. Right now, there's more money on margin in the stock market than there's ever been. Right. So that's bad. That's an alarm signal. Like, don't be overextended. Right. Don't.
Now, I think two things. If two things come out of this, I think would be good. One is if we raise the margin requirement drastically. Yep. To the point of maybe not having margin. I don't understand why we should allow people to buy a margin. I don't get that.
Well, obviously the brokerages want it because then they can invest.
Well, yeah, but I don't care what the broker.
Well, yeah, but understand, like,
you shouldn't be able to invest in stocks with money you don't have.
Allowing margin is very similar to the subprime mortgage collapse, right? We gave people more money than we knew they could afford,
right?
And we did it out of the greed that we were going to make our percentage of interest, and a certain amount of them were going to default and they didn't care.
Now, the flip side of that, on the other side, is we shouldn't be able to short more stock than exists.
Right.
And this is where that needs to be corrected too, where shorting a stock is a good thing. Like a lot of people, like I'm not an anti 1%. I told Steve, I go before when we talked about it, I go, what up, Steve? Steve? So I go, when was the last time you heard me rant about the 1%? And Steve thought, he goes, never. Yeah. I go, when did you ever hear me? When was the last time I ranted about rich people? And he was like, never. Right. I'm like, when did you hear me rant about politicians? He's like, all the time. Right. So I don't. If you're rich, that's fine. If you're, that's fine. No, shorting stock is a good thing. But here's the problem: is just like margin, they're almost shorting it on margin as well.
Yes.
You should have to be a very straightforward transaction. Yeah. You should have to say, hey, Clint, here's $50. I want 100 shares. Yeah. I'll give it back to you in a month. Right. And then if you're not willing to rent out your shares to me, then I shouldn't be able to buy it. I shouldn't be able to short it that much. Yep. But here, the reason why shorting is good is all shorting is looking at a company and going, it's not worth this much.
Right.
And we're going to correct the price on this company, and having the price of a company be the correct price is a good thing.
Yeah, we want
it to be the right price.
You want fair market pricing. That's why I was saying back to the Vegas Dave comment, like to make it sound like this is this big collapse if we see a correction in pricing.
He was really making it seem like the hobby's going to go away.
No, the hobby's never going away. Sports cards are as much a legitimate investment class asset as coins as art.
I mean, I would argue baseball cards and art are basically in the same category.
Yes, and did art?
You don't need to have a painting.
Yeah. Yeah, does art take a hit when the whole of the economy has recession? Of course.
Yeah, of course it does. There's less money.
But does that mean it's not a legitimate market? No, of course not.
Absolutely not.
It's silliness. But okay, so let's switch gears. I feel like this connects directly well with this. This weekend we're going down to watch the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
In Iowa.
In Iowa, Diamond Joe's.
Because it's illegal to bet on sports there, and it's not in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the main reason we're going there, right?
Yeah, there you go. Pretty much.
I actually had an epiphany. I don't know if I'd call it that. I had a thought. I started thinking about, okay, so options are to stocks. You know what an option is? It gives you the ability to hedge your investment in a stock. And I thought to myself, sports betting is actually that to sports cards.
No.
Or vice versa, right? You could actually have it. Cards could be that to your sports betting, or so I thought to myself.
I know what you're getting into because we explained it. Go. I love this.
So literally, I love Tom Brady, and I thought to myself, I know they're an underdog, and as I look at it without the emotion in this game, I literally think, and I'm gonna put it on record, so we'll talk about it next week and see how it goes. But as much as I want Tom Brady to win, I have more invested in Tom Brady than I do Mahomes personally. Mm-hmm. I thought, the perfect hedge for this is...
by invested, you mean you have more Tom Brady stuff.
Cards.
Than Patrick Mahomes.
Yes. Okay. More graded cards and more valuable...
Right. No, is this just your personal or business and personal?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I mean...
Hal's got a lot more Brady, both personal and business.
We're getting more Mahomes, but let's be honest,
there hasn't been as many years.
There hasn't been as many years, and his rookies are much more prevalent than Brady's. Yeah. Like, Brady's are harder to find, right? So my thought was, I actually think the Chiefs are the better team. And as I looked at the line at -3, I thought, I'm going to put a significant amount of money on the Chiefs to cover -3. And it's actually a win-win. It's a hedge because if Brady wins, I'm actually happy. I'm happy to lose the money.
Because the cards will do something.
The cards will appreciate more than my loss in my bet, I believe, long term.
Correct.
And if he loses, Brady's not going to really go down because no one expected him to be in the game.
He might stay.
So then
he might actually go up a little bit.
So then if he loses, I win this big bet.
Right.
And Mahomes stuff goes up.
And you do carry a position in Mahomes.
And I do carry a position in Mahomes. So I thought to myself, it's interesting. Sports betting is actually, it has the ability to be a hedge against your card portfolio. Now it's only specific spots, like LeBron last year in the finals. If you had a huge LeBron position, betting against him wouldn't be the worst thing because if he wins,
I think you tapped into something that most collectors do, especially small collectors. Is you open a box of cards, you get some guy you never heard of him before, you look him up, oh, he's a pretty good guy, and then you proceed to root for him in every game for the next 15 years.
Yeah,
because he got this one card number to 10.
Right.
I mean, it's something I've done with at least a dozen guys. Marcus Coulson was one of them. I got a low numbered rookie, and I would always watch Saints games throw it to Coulson.
Yeah.
Because my card might go from 20 to 25.
Now, I don't rip a lot of boxes, so for me, it's less about like a guy I remember ripping, but it's more like if I look at who's the most stable football investment ever. I think it's Brady.
Brady,
I've always been a fan and a collector of Brady because of that. And so I'm like, this is the first time I'm like, and as I look at the game, I'm like, I think the Chiefs have their offense is so explosive. We talked a little bit about that.
I think we're going to be opposite sides.
I'm actually going to be cheering for Brady.
Unless what up, Steve? If Steve bets on the Chiefs, I'm going to bet on the Chiefs because it's kind of the same thing.
Yep. So
I'm naturally unlucky.
Okay.
My entire life, and Steve knows this. What up, Steve? All right. So if he bets on the Chiefs, it works out both ways. I'm gonna bet on the Chiefs. If they win, I win money. If they lose, I mush Steve, and Steve loses, which will make me happy when he loses.
Wow. So you actually have a personal vendetta against Steve.
Not vendetta. It makes me happy when he's sad. Is that wrong? Is that love? Yes. Is that love, Clint?
Is that friendship? Wow.
Is that friendship?
Wow.
What
do you think about your
I told him I was going to do that. I don't think he's going to let me see who he bet on. I'm going to do my best to figure out where
To
you're
be
at.
honest, you know what's weird is you're going to see me make this big bet, and I'm going to cheer for Brady, which is really weird. So part of this, it's like we talked about with the Vikings. I should literally bet against the Vikings every game because
I thought of that.
That eases my pain. I'm like, okay, they lost. It sucks. Okay, I made a
wipe
money.
your tear with all
wipe my tears
with the cash. You know, I do think the Bucs are gonna pull it out. I think the Chiefs are beatable.
I love hearing you say that.
I think the Chiefs are beatable this year, and I really do.
Here's the thing that scares me: the Bills held the Chiefs to 0 points in the first quarter, and they scored 38.
Right.
Like that's how their offense
the Bills
literally
is. You know, I bet on the Bills, but like it's not like the.
I'll
Bills
say this much.
Down.
I'll say this much though: the Bills' defense isn't much different. Well, do we know if Winfield?
Got a pretty
do we know if Winfield's playing too? I mean, there's some questions.
I haven't found that out yet, but we got a week left. So I don't think they've even reported it yet. I doubt they have.
What do you mean?
Because they don't put out the injury report.
We have like 5 days.
Like a few days before the game.
Friday, maybe Saturday. No, they got to be announcing it by Wednesday, I would think. So we got a couple days.
I don't like if it was baseball. I would like know the rules.
The Chiefs do have their starting left tackle out, which gives a little problem. But to be honest, like I think I'll say this much.
Oh, do they? I didn't even know.
This will be, mark my words, this will be the greatest Super Bowl matchup we've ever seen.
Yeah, and all I'm hoping for is I am hoping that it's going to be a good game.
I think it's going to be a great game. And to be honest, just to be able to like go down there and enjoy it, like as a sports fan, and then to go like, to be honest, it's a win-win as a collector because like most people have Brady and Mahomes, and Brady getting there enough has already driven his prices through the roof, you know.
Right, and then Mahomes being there 2 years in a row as young as he is such a big deal.
I mean, did we talk about this already? Did I tell you the story about my customer texting me and who I had sold a Brady Bowman Chrome 10 to? Did we talk about this on air?
We
on air
referenced it.
Yeah,
on air. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah,
I'm actually happy for all those guys I've
14
sold.
14 megawatts over the air.
Well, here's the thing. Well, listen. Here's the thing. As a card dealer, actually, it's actually fun to think I've sold a bunch of cards that are worth 20, 40, 50, 100 times more than they were, and these guys have made money on them.
Good marketing because then they come back to your shop like, oh, let's do it again.
I got some more stuff
to tell you.
I go, make sure to tip your dealer.
Tip your dealer. All right, so let's get into some other less large stories. I got a cool one for you.
Yes.
I got a really cool one for you. Happened yesterday.
Okay.
I had a customer. His name is Foo. What up, Foo? He actually said that. There you go. I got to write this down for podcast. Then he goes, Foo. And then, because my bad ears, I go, is it Voo, V-U-E? He goes, no, F-U-E. He's like, what up, Foo? And I go, oh, okay. I told him about Steve. I go, every time we say Steve, I go, what up, Steve? So it worked out perfect. So he submitted, today he did, but he talked to me yesterday about it, or the day before. He's sending the Vivid Voltage Amazing Rare set, right? So there's 6, let me make sure that's right, 6 Amazing Rares. It's a brand new type of Pokemon card.
Amazing Rare?
It's called Amazing Rare. They're really nice.
Not a Secret Rare, an Amazing Rare.
Right. Secret Rare is the thing.
What's this come out of? What product?
Vivid Voltage for the first time ever, right?
So
that's
were
the Pikachu box.
Were they out of the ETBs and everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's part of the
but they're
base
just
set.
really
but
hard
it's
to
the first
find.
time they've ever done. Not really hard to find. You get between 1 and 4 per booster.
How can you tell what they look like?
They're really colorful. Super colorful.
So it's like a full art type look?
You know what it looked like? It looked like a color blast.
Okay.
It literally looks like a color blast.
Cool.
So there's 6 of them, and it's the first time they've ever done Amazing Rare, so they consider it a set.
Yep.
And he goes, well, I want to do the set at PSA, and I've been looking for the best one.
Yeah.
Because I want, are you ready for it? A serial numbered set where the serial number is unbroken for the set. I have never thought of such a thing before.
So you actually grade them all in order. Yeah.
Grade them in order so when you get them back, not only do you have all 10s, that's the goal, but they're in serial order for PSA serial number.
So what happens if he gets a few 9s?
That's the problem. We talked about that. Then you got to find a new set and try it again. Right, but let me ask you something. I never even fathomed this before.
That is another level of.
And so now, on the build and battle boxes, so those are those little mini boxes with the 4 packs and the pack with the promo card in.
Yep.
There's 4 different promo cards. Somebody's sending in a set of the Vivid Voltage build and battle. That's 4.
Wow.
Charizard plus the other 3, and try to get a serial numbered set of those.
Wow.
This is blowing my mind. So now I'm going to be looking for small sets, subsets. Think if you thought you had All right, you ready? Shaq's rookie PSA registry set is only 8 cards.
Yep.
What if you could put together 8 10s, submit them, serial numbered Shaq rookie set?
The likelihood of you
would you get a big premium on it? You think?
If you sold them all together?
Yeah, you sold them together as a serial numbered PSA set?
Honestly, I don't even know.
Clutches are weird, man. No, I don't. A big premium is kind of maybe a bad way to put it, but a premium.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm digging this.
The problem is I don't think you're ever going to submit 8 cards like that in a row and get all 10s.
But here's the thing, though.
Then what do you do?
What are you out?
Nothing.
You could submit all of them, and then you at least give yourself a shot at a serial number set.
I mean, I'm putting together the 86,
5 years from now, it's gonna be all the rage.
I'm putting together the 86 Fleer set in PSA 8, and I could find a bunch of raw ones and submit them in order, but I don't know.
Oh, that would be interesting. Like you had a serial numbered set, but they would be different grades. I mean, it'd be really hard to go across. But we're talking about a 4 card, quote unquote set, 6 card set. Yeah, 4 cards, getting 4 10s isn't crazy. No, so. He thought of that. Thank you, Fu, for the idea. That was awesome.
Do you think like a Jordan rookie with like
his sticker,
or with like 2-3 in the PSA serial numbers?
Oh, now we're getting the fancy number stuff. That's if it ends in 2-3.
Yeah, or like it starts in 2-3, or
that's kind of cool.
It starts
2-3 somewhere in there.
2-3, and then like 6 for championships, and 13 for MVPs, and 10 for scoring titles.
We got to send an email to PSA.
We're getting real crazy now. I want the 23, 6, 10. 13.
I want it to be.
So literally, you try to send it in and time it exactly.
Right. No, but I think that's interesting. In a small set like the Build and Battle set of 4 cards, even the Amazing Rares, getting 10s on those aren't that big of a deal.
No.
Why can't you? Why wouldn't you be able to do that?
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see what happens. 5 years from now, it might be a thing.
Wow.
So I love the idea about it. So I do have a story. That's a sad story.
Okay.
And it involves K-Bid.
Okay.
It involves myself.
Okay.
It involves one of the dealers in the shop, Damien. It's full of tragedy. So I did K-Bid pick up off the last K-Bid auction. We did very well on the auction. And so the guy who wanted lot number, I think 24, who won lot number 24 came in. Mm-hmm. And it was a bulk lot, multi-sport bulk lot. Mm-hmm. Went for like $25. It's just, mostly commons, but
tragic.
Some stars in it, whatever. I gave them to him. Damien came by yesterday and said, hey, I'm going to pick up, he bought some stuff on K-Bid. So that's cool. I went back there. Lot number 5 was a 1989 Upper Deck set with a Griffey rookie in it. Mm-hmm. Wasn't on the shelf because it was right next to that bulk lot, and I gave the guy the set. So now I'm out $90 plus taxes plus buyer's premium.
And you didn't call the guy back?
I did. His phone number won't ring, so I'm going to send him an email and see if he has it.
So he didn't notice that you gave him an extra set, or you? Oh, he.
Well, it was a various bulk lot, right? Because we use like factory set boxes for. Gotcha. It was open, and so we use those all the time. We repurpose them all the time, yeah. And I just didn't. I gave it. I know I gave it to him. So for $25, he got his lot and 89 Upper Deck set.
He was like, "Wow, this Griffey's."
He's like, "Wow, that's a great lot." Now here's the thing. Here's the benefit.
I didn't know this was in there.
Here's the benefit. He might bid up all of our bulk lots in the next auction astronomically, because if we just throw in Upper Deck sets. But yeah, so that was my nice $100 loss that I had on that.
If we're sharing failures.
Ooh, failures.
We had a fun one the other day.
So here's where if you have a bad story, it makes me feel better that something hurt you.
Yeah, absolutely. So like we've had a recent couple cases where we've sent the wrong graded card to a customer. Like we had these 1961 Topps. They were like AL, NL leaders cards, and there was like 7 of them, and they were all graded 8s and 9s.
What year are they?
61s.
Okay.
And they were graded 8s and 9s, and we've had numerous ones where like, and I'll take the blame for it. I think I shipped at least one of them where I sent the right grade, but the wrong card.
Yeah.
To someone, and then they had to get it, ship it back, and then the other guy got the other one, and all of a sudden now you got two guys.
Yeah,
who both got different cards. You're like, oh man.
You know what I do is with my graded cards. If you look at them on eBay, I put the serial number of the PSA card in the title of the eBay auction. So then when it sells, I thought of this when I had multiple Shaq rookies in the same grade. I was like, last thing I need to do is send the wrong grade and have somebody complain about the serial number.
Right.
Even though it shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
So I just did it for that reason. Then I was like, oh, that's probably a pretty good idea. Then I can really take a picture of that card. Here's this card. That's the serial number. Let's go. Right. So you're saying that's what happened. It was just a different serial number card.
And we've had this happen a couple times where like.
Did anybody say, I'll just keep this one, or did they want the serial number they got?
I think they wanted. Well, no. It wasn't the actual same card number either.
Oh, the different card.
It was a different card.
So the right grade, right year.
Right grade, right year.
Wrong card.
Different. Yeah. So like you know how like you have the NL leaders and there's like three of them. There's like the home run leaders, the RBI, and they got mixed matched.
And the same player had a really good year.
Yeah, like Clemente was on both of them or something, you know. And you're like, oh, it's Clemente.
So yeah,
you
would want. Yeah. It wasn't what I was talking
about. Now we have had the other one that. Oh, I had one the other day. I felt really bad about this one. We had a customer. How would you handle this? I want to hear your thoughts. This is a question for you. So a customer calls and goes, hey, there's this card you have on eBay and I want it. Will you hold it for me?
Okay.
I don't really want him to pay through eBay because I'd rather not pay the fees. I also know I've had a lot of people call that say they're coming in for a card and don't come in. So what I do on this scenario is I'm like, yeah, man, come on in. As soon as you come in, you can pay. I'll pull it off eBay.
Right.
We're good, right?
But you said it like that.
Yeah. No, I don't. No, I don't remember how I finished the conversation as far as what we're going to do. I'm like, yeah, it's available. Come on in or, whatever.
Okay.
So literally this guy walks in and he's like, hey, I'm here to pick up the 61 Ed Matthews PSA 7 or whatever. It was like $50. And I go, oh, man. I said, someone in store just bought that card. Literally, they bought it 20 minutes earlier. Oh, no. And so the card had sold in store 20 minutes earlier. The guy leaves. I pulled it off eBay. This guy walks in, and I don't know how far he drove, but I think it was further than 15 or 20 minutes. And he was just – and I said to him, I said, I'm really sorry, man. I'd give you a discount on something else if you wanted. But the reality is, like, I've done that where I pulled a card off eBay, held it for someone.
Oh, yeah.
A week later, they still haven't picked it up, and now I have to relist it.
Did you know who this guy was?
No, I've never met him before. So I lost a potential customer, too. Because
here's the thing. It's not as bad as I thought. Well, here's the thing. Like,
would you have...
If somebody brought up that, hey, I want that Eddie Matthews, did you assume that was the guy?
No, actually, when he brought it up, I totally spaced that was the card the guy called about. Because when he called, he mentioned it, but, like, he had called about it a couple days earlier.
A couple days earlier.
Yeah, and then he finally showed up, and literally within a half an hour.
That's not a thing. Like, look, like
he's like, yeah, but I called you, and I'm like, no, we don't really hold stuff.
If I got like two of something, and somebody says, hey, can you hold it for me? I go, when are you gonna be here? All right. And they're like, oh, I'll be there in an hour. Oh, yeah, I can pull it for you for an hour. That's fine. Because what I don't want to happen is I don't want them to drive down here and have it be not there. And now you drove all the way here.
Like if someone called and was like, hey, you got 2 boxes of Prism football blasters left.
Right.
Will you hold me one?
Yeah, I'd say, when are you coming?
Yeah.
And then if they go 20 minutes, I'm like, cool. Yeah.
What if I go in the next couple of days? Are you gonna hold it?
No.
Or not? Okay.
No.
So like 24 hours or like one day. Like one day.
Or like I pulled an ultimate collection for a customer. He doesn't get paid till Friday. I said, yeah, I'll do that. He's a good customer. That's cool.
How about the people on eBay?
But he told me exactly the day. If it's Saturday,
John, how about the people on eBay who buy a card and go, I get paid on the 14th and I'll pay for this card, and it's like 7 days from now.
Yeah.
And I go, you bought a $5 card that you can't pay for 14. Like, why not just wait to buy it then, right?
No, the funny thing with me is the ones who are overly concerned about payment.
Yeah.
And they go, they buy it on a Monday, and they're like, I get paid Wednesday. I'll pay you Wednesday. I promise. And I'm like, that's cool. And then
just pay Wednesday.
Like a day later, hey, I'm getting paid tomorrow. I'm going to pay you. I'm like, dude, it takes 2 days for me to file the claim, and then I got to wait 4 days to close it out. You got 6 days.
Yeah.
So here's the thing on eBay. If you're a buyer on eBay, you have 6 days. Now, I think one of the reasons why that happens is some sellers are so neurotic, they start pestering the buyer for payment. Yeah. Usually because they need the money, but they need that money because they're operating on such low cash flow.
Yeah.
For me, I'm like, okay, the 3 emails you sent me was worth about $4,
right?
And this is a dollar card, so I've lost money. just pay me when you can pay me,
right?
And if it goes 6 days and I close it out, then goes 6 days, I close it out, I relist it, I don't really care.
Right.
Non-paying bidders don't rile me out.
No, right.
And I think that's because I'm higher.
To be honest, I literally go, I appreciate you reaching out to tell me you're going to pay. Just pay. Just pay in 3 days. Like, I don't need, like, we don't need.
You're not even looking at it.
We don't need 8 correspondences about how you're going to just, you know what I mean? Like, I
But
don't.
Again,
now,
we're the minority.
How many days until you close, or until you open a unpaid
I'm
case?
so lazy, dude. I batch them. So sometimes you get away with like 2 weeks before I put in the claim.
Yeah.
Like, if I only have one outstanding, I'll just
you've gotten to the place where have you ever waited too long? I've done that.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Probably maybe half a dozen times a year.
Yeah.
I don't get my fees back.
Now, let me ask you this: if someone doesn't pay,
no, usually I put in the claim, but I don't close it out in time.
You don't close it.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't pay, you don't get charged the fee.
Not anymore. It used to be
they did, and then because I would think, I never got paid, I don't need to go close it. But
they
now
used to charge the fee up front.
Now you don't need to. So
and then you had to go through the process to get your fee back.
Which is smart for them because then they know a percentage of us aren't going to go through the process.
Well, now with managed payments, though, they never charge the fee till payment happens, so you're good to go.
Yep.
But it's just I'm so lazy with it because it's like if there's 2 unpaid, I got so much stuff to do.
Right.
Even if it's kind of a big sale, I'm just like I got things to do, and I've been paid 2 weeks later before.
Right.
Where I pull up eBay and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I forgot I sold that. Okay, cool. It was 2 weeks prior. They just paid. I think they got tired of waiting for me to close out.
Let me ask you this: have you used the new? I had a customer today bring it up. Have you used the new 91 cent tracking on a?
I've not. I need to find the right envelope before I test it.
Would you send it in a semi-rigid or a top loader?
Semi-rigid. So I learned that from some old. I'm an OG eBay.
So a semi-rigid with any other protection around it, or just a team bag?
Just semi-rigid.
Semi-rigid in a team bag?
Yeah, maybe a team bag, but a semi-rigid, it's not going to flop out like a top load does.
No, right.
So I mean, I would, I guess, just as
no,
whatever. But especially if it's a flat card, it's a tops card. It's not coming out of a semi-rigid. It's not even going to move. I mean, that's kind of the benefit of a semi-rigid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I learned that because what happens is in an envelope. I think we talked about this literally first podcast. Is top load will sometimes go through the what do you even call it? The mail sorters, the automatic mail sorters. They'll shatter.
Yeah.
But the semi-rigid is thin, and then especially the.
The question is, how much can a card bend before it'll crease?
A lot.
Like
a lot.
Like 20, 30 degrees more.
I don't know.
40. So 45 would be literally like this.
Literally, bend.
So like that.
Well, no, that's 90 degrees.
I'm sorry.
45 degrees, half of that.
So 40.
Maybe 45.
45.
But we're talking about bend, though.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Like, letters, you know how many millions and millions and millions of cards have been shipped in plain white envelope and just arrived just fine? It's not like the post office is... I don't know what people think they're doing. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. They're not treating them nicely, but they're not... Especially letter mail. It's all, like, very in order.
Yeah,
they can't just throw letters all over the place.
And they don't crease letters or envelopes.
And they don't. And you got to remember, like, they throw packages.
Yep.
There's no benefit to throwing letters. That's just going to make a big old mess.
Yeah.
So in terms of that,
the biggest issue is the angle on which they run through that sorter.
Right. That little spitter.
If that machine turns it and it.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I've sent. And many people still do send raw cards in a soft sleeve, and it arrives just fine. By the way, I used to do that with TTM. It got there and back, and the card looks just fine.
Wow.
So the people who are really worried about it and go, I would never do this, and it's like, well, okay, you send 1,000 $1 cards.
Yeah.
Well, okay, 2 of them get ruined.
Mm-hmm.
I know that kind of sucks, but. Instead of paying $3,000 more for shipping, like I don't know.
I mean, the reason I leaned away from it for years was I didn't want to have no tracking and then lose top.
The tracking was a big deal,
and lose top rated status. Well, now they do have tracking, so now that.
Yeah, I'll definitely investigate it. I don't think it's going to be top priority for me.
To be honest,
I don't want to. Here's the other thing too. I don't want to sell one $1 card.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not interested in it.
Actually, that's the whole point for us too. Is I don't even want to list cards under $10. Mm-hmm. And if we're sending a $10 card, like I'll ship it in a bubble mailer.
Right.
It's $3 or.
But that's the thing. By having $4, the incentive to buy one $1 card for me, because I have lots of dollar cards on there, but I want people to buy 7 or 8 of them at a time.
Yep.
Well, if I'm charging $4, now you really shouldn't buy that from me.
Right.
Or you can add 5 more cards to your order.
But now, let's be honest. That's why ComC is so successful, because they could buy from 100 different sellers,
50 cents,
500 cards, and have them shipped in one box for $5.
But that's the whole point of the variation network that I've built. Is I have 30,000 cards.
But I can't combine your cards with someone else's.
No, you can't. But I have a large library now.
Yeah.
And you can find 20 of my cards that you want, and it's $3.99, and I don't change the fee.
Right.
One card is $3.99, 100 cards $3.99, 1,000 cards $3.99. And so I might not offer it just because I don't want to do that deal.
Right.
I'm not interested in pulling it.
Yep.
Put it in an envelope. Pin the lid. I don't want to do that. So
makes sense. Yeah.
So I don't think I will, but I'll investigate it more.
Well, how we doing, Evan?
125. And this time you came up with it.
We're landing it.
I do got a question for you on PSA. Can you send a PSA if you're out of semi-rigids and you won't take the risk? Can you send a PSA just in soft sleeves?
Top loaders.
You can send a top loader?
Yes, now you can. They've changed that.
When did that change?
Because of the shortage.
Because of the shortage.
Because of the
okay.
shortage.
So you can top load it now. And did they say there was like a time limit on that?
No. I think they're okay with it. I send thick cards in top loaders already.
Okay.
So anything over like 120 point thickness, I send in a top loader. I don't send it.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't want
that
pressure. That bend actually puts a little bit on the edges,
yeah.
so you can see the pressure on the edge. Once I feel like the card's actually having pressure on it, then I put it into a top loader or a magnetic.
So now you didn't answer the question though. Can you do soft sleeves if you want to?
Without top loaders?
With just soft sleeves. Because I know they put stickers on the semi-rigid and stuff. I don't think you can.
If you're a glutton for punishment, yes, you could.
You can.
I mean, they're not going to love you for it, I don't think.
Because don't they utilize the semi-rigid and I guess top loaders for all their tracking and all their stickers and stuff? Yeah. That was the only thing that thought maybe they don't want that.
They sticker it, but
they could put it on the
soft They could sticker the penny sleeve. Why would you do that, though, John?
That's way too much We didn't know about top load.
Way too much risk.
We didn't know about top load, so that's why we asked the question. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry to upset you.
Or you could use smaller semi-rigids, like that if you had extra.
They won't reject those?
No, I think they'll take those.
I thought they did.
Well, now, I mean,
before
now
they
I think
did reject them. Now it's like we don't care.
Just get us the cards.
Just
we're good.
That would be the whole. We got one more news thing. Matthew Stafford got traded. Believe it or not, future Hall of Famer Matthew Stafford
and Nolan Arenado in baseball went to
St.
Louis.
And he went to
the Cardinals.
St. Louis,
yeah. Which
I know you're a big Arenado fan.
Love Arenado.
So let's talk about the Stafford trade right away.
Yes.
Went to Rams. Detroit got Goff
and a bunch of
third-round pick next year. 2022 first-round pick. 2023 first-round pick. 2 first-round, third pick. And a good young quarterback.
And a huge contract, actually, though.
So, why would the Rams do this? They think they're going to the Super Bowl?
McVay's done with Goff. McVay was done with him.
But why give so much up for it? Like, he wanted out. It's not like he had to give up all that.
Yeah, I think, actually, the reason they gave up what they did was to so they got Goff.
They got a quarterback back.
And all those picks. And I think the picks were the incentive for the Lions to take the contract. Because the contract for Goff is brand new and it's big.
It's really big.
It's really big.
But Goff's not a bad quarterback.
No, he was the actual first overall pick.
No, right. But, I mean, he was bad the first.
Wasn't he the first overall pick?
Yeah, he was. But
he was ahead of Wentz in 16.
No, right. But, the first year and a half, he was a little thin at the bottom.
Yeah, he was bad.
But he's a good quarterback.
To be honest, good for Matthew Stafford. Yeah. Immediately, his stuff sold. Today, we sold a rookie for $30. I was like, wow, Matthew Stafford's selling.
His top Chrome base is up to 100.
Wow.
Yeah, Matt stopped by. What up, Matt?
Which is phenomenal for Matthew Stafford, who's been a part of the most awful organization. I mean, Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson retired early just to get out of Detroit.
So think about something.
Do you
podcast number 7?
Yeah. I
brought up 2 quarterbacks to buy that were way undervalued.
Yep.
Matt Ryan and Matthew Stafford.
Good for you.
So what's up?
And
now this was because of trade, not long term. Yeah. But like he probably went from like $15 to $100.
I mean, I don't know if people realize Matthew Stafford's, I think, in the top 20 all time in passing yards.
No,
Higher?
he's top 5. He's number 5 right now.
Right now?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Philip Rivers. He's
like
Philip Rivers number 5. I'm sorry.
I mean,
I got him mixed up.
He's like
you're right. He's like 17.
He's got like 37,000.
He's like 17, 15, somewhere around there.
I mean, Matthew Stafford is
Stafford, Rivers, whatever.
He is not. He is not.
15.
He is 16.
16.
He has not underperformed.
No.
His expectations. He just hasn't had.
Yeah,
much
but
help.
A lot of people argue this,
He's
and I
been
don't
Iron
have
Man
a position on it, but a lot of people argue that he gets a lot of garbage time.
People ahead of him are all retired too, so
He'll be moving up the list.
easily.
Yeah, a lot of people argue his
10.
stats come in garbage time, like they're down by 4 touchdowns.
They throw the ball a lot, but the guy can absolutely sling it.
Absolutely.
And to be honest, like he deserves to play on a contender where he's in the playoffs regularly.
Well, he should have one shot out of Detroit to do something.
I mean, everybody's happy. I mean, other than the Detroit and Detroit's probably like, hey, we're ready for a change of scenery, and Goff might be a good thing for them. So it might actually be
Goff
a win-win.
is a young quarterback. I mean, Goff could be the quarterback for the Lions.
Yeah, so they got Goff. Goff's like 26, and Stafford's like 35. Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not the worst thing for either. I mean,
yeah, it's a lot of picks.
Yeah, but it's a lot of money. They got rid of a lot of money, so they had they had a huge cap hit that is gone, and they probably are going to sign Stafford to like a 2-year deal. So like, it gives them some more maneuverability. Now the problem is they don't have the picks to draft a backup quarterback who can be developed into a starter. They're going to have to pick them later.
Yeah, you can pick them in the 3rd, 4th round.
Yeah,
did you hear the 2 Vikings ones? Cousins to the Texans, we get Watson, and Cousins to the 49ers, we get Garoppolo and picks.
I like Watson.
The Watson one is a very complicated.
I'll say this much. I wouldn't trade Cousins for Garoppolo. I think Cousins.
Well, we would get picks.
Yeah, but Cousins is better.
Cousins gives you get a bunch of picks. The point is not to get Garoppolo. The point is to get all the picks.
Cousins gives you a better chance to win now. I don't think we need a bunch of picks. We need a couple free agent signings. We need our defense to be healthy, and we need a new coach.
Here's the problem, though. We're right up against the cap, though. Like, there's no maneuverability on the Vikings right now. Now, we're going to take a massive cap hit, even if we trade Cousins. I don't know exactly how that works, but
yeah, I'm not an expert.
Apparently, we still get a big hit, even if we trade him away.
Cousins isn't the problem. The coach is. It's simple enough. Do you know who led the NFL in 4th quarter QBR this year?
Let me think. Deshaun Watson.
Wrong.
Oh, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Wrong. Do you know who?
Kirk Cousins.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Do you know who led the NFL in red zone QBR this year?
Matt Ryan.
Nope.
Kirk Cousins?
Yes.
Oh, how did I guess that? See, second try.
Hey, do you know who set a rookie receiving record this year?
Kirk Cousins.
The guy who Kirk Cousins was throwing to. So like I love how everyone's like all about Jefferson having a big year, and I'm like, do you realize who threw him the ball? Like Kirk Cousins was directly responsible for Jefferson's seat. And yet somehow we can give it to the receiver and give him accolades, and we're like, Cousins suck. I'm like, no,
I'm just really upset that I wanted to say Cousins for my answer for the first 2, and then on the 3rd question I did it, and I was still wrong. So I'm very upset by this. I wanted to say Cousins, and then the 3rd question I'm like, it's got to be Cousins.
Kirk Cousins is good enough to win a Super Bowl with the right tools around him. He is. He's actually good.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm not a Cousins
fan. Hey, I'd take Cousins over Stafford, actually. With his age, I think he's,
Yeah, because he's how much younger? 32, 33?
4 years.
Yeah. I mean, he's markedly younger.
And to be honest, like Stafford.
And he moves better than Stafford.
Yeah, I mean, Stafford's good. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Stafford could take the Rams to the Super Bowl. Like, they have a great defense.
Yeah.
They have some great weapons. They got,
Now, let's just say when the Lions come on, I don't necessarily want to watch the game. But does Stafford like to hold on to the ball until he gets hit in the face by 5 defensive players? I don't know.
Yeah.
So that might be the X factor between the 2 of them.
I'm excited
to see.
Cousins
is like, I'm a man. Whap, whap, whap. Like,
what a treat.
You're going to die pretty soon, but okay. You're going to die like a man.
What a treat.
I'll go real quick just because we like to talk about basketball.
Yep.
Top 3 scoring leaders right now. Bradley Beal still holding number 1. 34.7, got 5 rebounds, 5 assists basically.
Yep.
Durant having a better year. So he's 4 points less, but he's like 2 more rebounds and
I'd
almost an assist
be
more.
curious to know like their plus minus. Like
Yeah.
Beal's a heavy scorer, but he doesn't really do
Right.
much else.
No, the thing is, Beal still fills up the stat sheet,
Yeah.
but Durant's really filling it up better.
And Beal's fine. I actually was shocked yesterday. The Wizards beat
Yeah.
the Nets,
Yeah.
and it was like 149, 146.
Well, Cavaliers. I think I'm gonna win
Crazy.
the bet with you over the Nets.
What's that? The over under.
Over under.
How many were we at?
I bought 3 games because we both won the over. I think we're 52.
So I got the over at 52.
Yeah.
The Nets. I mean, the Nets. I'll say this much: the NBA has become much less of a regular season. Like no one's trying to do what the Warriors did and win
Right.
70+ games anymore. They're like
The
they're
LeBron
positioning
effect.
themselves to come on strong at the end. They
Right,
kind of
yeah.
like build their.
You want
their
to
legs.
like
Yeah.
be in there and
Like
then,
you don't want to get yourself in a place where you can't get the 1 seed for
Right.
Brooklyn, but they're also like we don't win the championship.
I think the
in
superstars
February.
are trying to rest themselves for it.
Well, these guys have done enough NBA seasons. They know what it takes to like be in their prime when it counts in the playoffs.
Yeah, I
So-
think with the number of games, the 82 games, there's so much running involved.
Yeah.
You really do exhaust yourself. Where a lot of people are like, well, baseball players have 100. Oh, yeah, they're not,
No, it's totally different.
it's not running 4.5 miles a game. I
Right,
mean, that's
right.
that's a little different than
Yes.
running in short spurts.
I mean,
during a
unless you're
game.
Byron Buxton, you're hitting inside the Parkers every game. Like, no
Yeah,
one
or even
runs
that,
much.
though. But what does
Yeah.
it take them to run inside the park home
10
run?
seconds.
No.
It's like 13.
Like, what is it? Like,
13.
yeah, like, it's under 20.
Like
That's a
Buxton
record.
and Buxton 20
seconds of running.
And Buxton runs it faster than anybody.
Right, right.
You know,
But
so
it's 20
he's-
seconds of
yeah.
running versus, what is 4.5
It's
miles?
way less than 20.
Third
Way
guy,
less than 20. I'll take the under on 15
Yeah.
seconds.
14:05.
Thank you.
ooh, nice.
13.8.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's go,
I
Byron.
just figured under 20 was
Buxton's fast,
17.
man. That guy can run.
Damian Lillard, third,
Yep.
29.6 with 5 assists, 5 rebounds, 7 assists.
Is Curry next or who?
But Damian Lillard's really been balling. Like he's
Lillard's-
moved
Lillard's
way up
awesome.
in scoring, but then just playing really great games. And then I put 2 other players just because I thought they were interesting. Colin Sexton, 17th,
Yep.
24 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. So he's not really filling up the stat sheet
Except for
that
scoring.
great, but I mean scoring wise, he's doing it.
Yep.
And Nikola Vukovic, 23 points, 10.7 rebounds, and 4 assists. Like I mean, he's got
Yep.
solid 3.5 assists. there.
Jokic is a monster too.
Yeah,
He's doing a
and
great
so
job.
like
Jokic is
Vukovic
great.
kind of seems like a Jokic if he can get his assist up. I mean, he's doing
And he's
everything
with
else.
who, Orlando?
Orlando, yeah.
Yeah,
So he's a
so-
very interesting buy low guy.
Yeah, and they got Markelle Fultz, the old number 1 pick too. They got some interesting players. I mean,
But like I picked up a Prism Auto of Vukovic at the show for $4.
yeah, that's
No.
that's a steal.
Here's the thing. That wasn't that great of a deal. It's only like a $7 card.
Right.
You know, so he's
But
definitely
hopefully-
a guy to keep
But
an eye out
hopefully,
for.
but hopefully you didn't pay. You probably bundled it and didn't.
Yeah,
pay full
I
price.
think so.
Yeah.
But I mean, but even still, it's at $4. It's a deal, but not that great of a deal
Right.
for a Prism Auto. No, not a rookie or anything. But yeah, keep an eye on Vukovic. I think we might be seeing some movement in the. Not that we're doing it this week,
Yep.
but
And we'll have some updates from Diamond Joe's next week.
yeah. And then I think maybe
fun.
we'll try to go live on like maybe one of our Facebooks and put it on YouTube maybe.
Yeah.
At Diamond Joe's.
And then we're coming up for you guys, those of you listening, again, reminder to subscribe if you haven't.
Please.
Definitely share the podcast if you're finding it beneficial. We'd love to see your comments. We'd love to respond to those.
Yep.
What we got coming up is I think after we transition after the Super Bowl, we're going to spend a whole week on baseball prospects.
Right. So next week will be football, Super Bowl,
Yep.
probably
Recap.
heavy, and then baseball week after that.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. So thanks
All right.
again,
Thanks
John.
for listening.